Hello and welcome back. We're going to continue our look at Vigny cane. So this is the cane part of our Bartitsu syllabus. We do have an unarmed part to our syllabus, but the key weapon that everybody's familiar with is the cane. Just because ideally it's something that you wouldn't think of as a weapon, it's not something that's considered particularly offensive, but can be used to quite a lot of effect. So last time we looked at a very basic overhead strike, we looked at the stance, and we looked at blocking that overhead strike. What I want to look at today is the concept of a moulinet, and we're going to look at our first moulinet, and then we're going to look at the entirety of the parries of this system, which are only 3, so it shouldn't take very long. So, we started off, I'm actually going to move you this side just so that I can talk to camera. It's much easier because my arm going up here, I don't have to talk through. So I can still talk to you guys over there as if you're there and aren't just a kitchen hatch. But I'm confusing everybody now. Right, so we had our guard here, this is our forward guard. There are 2 other guards we will discuss later, but everything we're doing for the minute is from the forward guard. And we looked at an overhand strike to the hand, and then I can do that, and Andrew there will pull back and parry, and then he'll launch a counter-attack into my head here. So that's kind of what we were looking at last week. What I want to look at to start with is a moulinet. Now the idea of a moulinet is it's a defense that runs into a strike. So it's a circular motion, and in fact the moulinet we're going to look at is if I bring the cane down past my outside arm, over the top into a strike, and back to where I started. So it becomes this circle here, okay? And really, it's the only circle, the only moulinet you need in cane. There is actually 2 more, but one of them goes around your head, and as you'll find, if you just angle your arm, this is this on a slightly different plane. So I'm not going to worry about that. There is the reverse one, but we'll talk about that another time. This is the main one we're going to use because it forms the basis of most of our parries and our attacks. So what I could do is use this moulinet to defend against the strike we're looking at last time. So if the strike's coming from my hand, I can pull my arm back into my moulinet here and straight into my strike. So rather than this being a 2-part action, or as it was last week, sorry, pull back and then strike, now it becomes a singular fluid motion. Okay, just go for it. Where I can take that parry, step offline slightly, that's just inbuilt, I didn't mean to do that. But the idea is that I can take the parry in a circle and come straight back. So there's no pause or movement, it's much quicker, much more fluid, and it means by the time I'm actually getting to my strike, I've got a lot more momentum behind it. And as we said in the first video, this is a fairly light stick, so I need some solid momentum to make that happen. So that's our high guard is here. So I can, instead of pulling back, I'm going to go to my high guard, or use that as the starting of my moulinet, and come through and strike. Now, it may be that instead of going high for my head, there's the option to come in and try and say, for example, take my elbow out here. So if that attack comes round from my elbow here, that's not going to take me out of the fight, but it is going to completely ruin my ability to use my offhand. So I need a way of defending against that, and the defense we're going to use against that is called the body block. So we've got a head block, which is the one I use if they're coming from my head. This is the body block because it goes across my body. So the attack comes in, and I'm just going to drop the cane down here into what, if you were a more modern fencer, would be called preen. My hand is across my forehead, and the cane is covering really from the top of my head down to about my knee. Yeah, and then from there I'll be looking to continue my strike here. So again, we've got that as a 2-part action. I block, I strike, but I can also do that as the moulinet. So I don't have to pause in between. I can block and bring it straight round into my strike. Now obviously, we have the situation where they may decide to go for the other elbow, because if they go for the other elbow, if he cracks into that elbow, I lose this arm, and it's the one holding the cane. So I really don't want that to happen. So I need a block out here as well. So rather than the body block, we're going to look at the other side, which is the flank block. So when the attack comes here, I'm going to come out to the side here. Yeah? So that means I've got my head block, boom, my body block, and my flank block. And what you'll notice is that if I'm moving in between these, I also cover everything in the center. So from here I can scoop up, can scoop across, can move across. This windscreen wiper effect of back and forward comes in quite a lot. But that means I don't really need any more guards than those three. I can just move between them to parry anything that's coming in. So, sorry, flank block comes in, attack comes in, and I move to my flank block here. Now what I'm going to do from here is, to achieve that, I haven't actually moved my arm across. My arm is still in the same position, I've dropped it down. What I've done is turned my hip. So rather than moving my hand across but my hips stay square here, my point drops and then my hips turn my body to parry across. Now the reason I want to do that is, if I now moulinet without moving my hips, I moulinet to the person next to my opponent. But if I moulinet as I straighten my hips back up, so sorry, that comes in, I moulinet as I straighten my hips back up, then I'm going to find my way through to that moulinet actually hitting my opponent's head. So this time, rather than the moulinet just being a straight circle, I'm going to go out to the side and then do my circle. So there's just a movement of the hip in the middle, but it's still a single circle. So, attack comes in from my elbow, boom, and I'm coming through there. Whether I hit his hand, or his head, or whatever target is available will depend on a myriad of different things, how he strikes, how high he is compared to me, etc. So attack comes in, block, and across. So actually, it doesn't matter whether I'm blocking here, the attack comes down here. Here, the attack comes here. Here, the attack comes here. Whatever happens, I'm going to block and reply with that same moulinet strike. And that actually starts to give us the basics of the system, because whatever he throws at me now, and I don't know what that's going to do, block, strike. Okay, can have another go. Block, strike. He can even start throwing in multiples if he wants to do it. And each time I'm just going to block it and reply with that same attack. Now, obviously we don't attack the same way every time, that's going to get really boring, but this is video 2 of the series, okay? So what we started with is how you stand, how you defend, and how you riposte back from each of those into a direct attack. And I think that's probably enough for this week. So next week we're going to go on and start looking at the variations of other attacks that we can launch rather than just that one. So hopefully we'll catch up with you then. Take care, have a good week.